On Thursday, Europe launched the first satellite in its $10.3 billion Copernicus project. The Sentinel 1A satellite blasted off into orbit from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana. This eye in the sky will snap pictures of natural disasters and even help respond to humanitarian crises. The European Space Agency describes it as the most ambitious Earth observation program to date. So joining us now is Dr. David Grinspoon. He's a distinguished visiting scholar in astrobiology at the U.S. Library of Congress. Dr. Grinspoon, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
What's so significant about the Sentinel mission? What's the big deal?
Well, it's an attempt to begin a new phase where we're continuously monitoring the health of our planet in a way that will allow us to respond to natural disasters and emergencies, but also allow us to do a better job of a long-term assessment of the kinds of changes that are happening to our planet so that we can understand what it is that we are doing to the planet and sort of do a better job of really taking care of our home world. So it's really an opportunity to, as a planet, do a better job of sort of self-observation and reflection and give us the data we need to scientifically really move forward in an intelligent way, hopefully, in managing our planet.
So speaking of moving forward, let's talk about what happened on Thursday. NASA's decision to stop cooperating with Russia came as a surprise for the American Space Agency. So what kind of impact will that have on future missions?
Well, it's a really good question. We've just learned about this directive in the last couple of days, and those of us involved in planetary exploration we're all involved in these international collaborations in different ways. And, you know, the Russians are important partners to us, and so we're kind of wondering what it means. And it would be very unfortunate if we were not able to move forward in a cooperative way, because space exploration is inherently global and international. And so we don't really know, but if it literally meant that we were not allowed to work with the Russians on future space missions, it would impact our science greatly, and then really it would be shooting ourselves in the foot because we gain from that cooperation.
And speaking of that cooperation, the U.S. space program used to be one of this country's crown jewels. So what are the consequences of ending NASA's space shuttle program?
Well, it's still one of our crown jewels, space exploration. It's one of the things that personally makes me most proud to be an American, the fact that we are participating in such a leading way in humanity's expansion of knowledge into the universe. Canceling the shuttle in and itself was not necessarily a bad thing. The shuttle was, was getting old and was sort of ready to retire. The question is, what are we going to replace it with? And as of now, our country does not have a way of getting people into orbit. Over the longer run, we're going to be replacing that function with private companies. And personally, I think that's a good thing. NASA doesn't need to be a bus company. We can have other entities, private entities, doing the routine transportation and let NASA do the deep space envelope-pushing exploration that NASA is really for.
But will that hurt regulations then, if it then goes only to private companies?
Well, you know, it's going to be bumpy in the short run, and as of now, it's very bumpy because, as you've been discussing,
Sure.
we're just dependent on the Russians. But over the long run, no, I think it's a good move. NASA doesn't need to be just shuttling people into orbit and back. There are companies that are developing those capabilities to do that, and NASA can go and explore the other planets and do wonderful, amazing science-driven things that really private companies aren't going to be doing.
But you made an interesting point just now. You said the U.S. doesn't have a way to get people in space. So is the U.S. losing its edge in space?
Well, currently this future's uncertain because funding has been at least flat. They say flat is the new up, and so we're worried about the ability to keep launching new spacecraft. But right now we haven't lost our edge. I mean, we have a spacecraft on its way to Pluto next year, first ever visit to that planet. We have a spacecraft around Saturn called Cassini, returning amazing pictures. So right now we are doing incredible things in space. It's just a question of the investment in the future. Are we training the students? Are we preparing to launch the spacecraft that will keep us on that leading edge in coming decades? And some of us are very worried about that because of the funding decisions that are being made right now.
All right. David Grinspoon, distinguished visiting scholar in astrobiology at the U.S. Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. this morning. Dr. Grinspoon, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks a lot.